do you mean? Do you mean what?
I felt fine. Like I was fighting fit, a bit short of breath, but I'm an asthmatic, so you expect that. A little bit of colder weather, and I put it down to that. I think the mistake I made was that we just kept working. I mean, even at the hospital, it just long days because we've just been dealing with nightmare scenarios and trying to deal with this issue like everybody. So I think I was a bit run down, and then by about day 8, as you say, I sort of finished that day, hopped into bed thinking if my breathing's any worse than it is now, when I wake up, I'll admit myself to hospital and go back. It wasn't, and I kept an eye on it and tried to do a bit of exercise from home, tried to eat well, and got through it. But I was in isolation for, I forget now, but about 26 days. So it dragged on, and it's, when people say it's just a flu, it's not. It just lingers, and I just think it comes back with a force, and that was my experience.
Yep, that's right. We're going after the potato. And I'm just going to take this opportunity to say that I, for one, am not really into wishing bad things to happen to people, no matter how much of a horrible person they are. Like, the potato is, it's just not my jam. Mum didn't raise me like that. I'm not telling you not to do it, but it just makes me feel uncomfortable.
Again, Australia has been reminded of the importance of border control.
Rich.
It has been one of the reasons why we have had such an experience with the virus, unlike other countries that are interlocked or took too long to close their borders. I want to ask a question that comes out of a report which was released today by Brett Baer, who's one of the straight news people at Fox News. He claims that there are cables in the US State Department which claim that China, when the virus started, stopped planes flying out of Wuhan to other parts of China, but let planes fly out of Wuhan to the rest of the world. So, according to that logic, they were concerned enough about what happened in their own country to lock things down, but not for planes that would end up in places like Australia. Can you confirm that there is this suspicion of what happened in China?
Alrighty. First thing, a bit embarrassing still taking the American government like any sort of seriously, but okay. Secondly, by your logic, this Sky News guy's logic, they're saying they would rather China not let citizens of other countries leave? Is that what they would rather? Because I could only imagine what they'll be saying if that's what happened. Because they can control the planes within their own country. I would love to see how you're going to go about saying, nah, we're not letting anybody leave the country. Be damned if you do, be damned if you don't. Not backing up China here, everyone's at fault, but what did they want them to do? Quarantine everyone? Not let any planes leave?
Well, Paul, certainly I've seen those reports, and I think there needs to be a level of transparency here that we haven't seen before.
It's almost like the smallest amount of transparency will be the level you've never seen before, Spud.
The United States has documentation. They'll produce that, or there'll be some commission of inquiry at some point. I mean, obviously our focus now at the moment is just on keeping Australians alive, keeping our economy alive, making sure that we can get kids back to school as quickly as possible.
And just on the note of missing school, I still stand by my argument of I think it's a little more important to make sure you stay alive and keep your family members alive. And then I think education comes in a nice second, And if you are concerned about your kids' education from missing school, I guess all I can say to you is I missed so much school. And I'll let you be the judge on the results.
These are legitimate and reasonable questions. And there has been a lack of transparency, and I think there will be a new arrangement in relation to people's perspective of the Communist Party of China. This is not about Chinese people, it's not about Australian Chinese people, it's about the Communist Party of China. And
he really wanted to make sure that we heard him say the Communist Party of China. We heard you, potato, we fucking heard you. Could have made the same point with so many other terms, but why would you give up an opportunity to make communism look like the bad guy?
Their behaviour, their conduct, we spoke about it some months ago, in fact for a long period of time, about the foreign interference, about the cyber attacks. All of that is a very serious issue for the world now to deal with, and the United States obviously has done a significant amount of work in this space. People deserve to know, particularly the families of those who have died, or those who have been very sick deserve to know the truth.
The truth? Oh, here, I'll give you the truth. Yes, China is a country that controls the information within it, suppresses a lot of stuff. People can say the wrong thing and it will fuck them up. The World Health Organization is a bunch of bureaucracy that can be swayed here or there, but we're better off with something like that than without it, so you got to reform, can't just get rid of it. And truth is, we should probably stop following America's lead on like anything. You don't look like a serious person when you're bringing them up like some sort of authority figure now. Like, someone get the potato that memo. Like, what seems like a smarter move? Following the lead of a country that has its nurses wearing garbage bags while they're treating COVID-19 patients? That country might have free speech, unlike the other one, but they built a hospital for the sick in their country. I think there's a time-lapse video of it and everything. Like, what seems like the smarter choice?
And China should assist whatever process and inquiry. They should be transparent and upfront. If they've made mistakes, confess or admit to those mistakes and allow the world to understand what has happened here, because this is not the first time that we've seen a virus out of China.
That, my friends, is a dog whistle. You're right, Spud. This isn't the first time. Maybe we should also be wary in case of another swine flu comes from Mexico, or if the UK wants to do Mad Cow 2.0, or if another Spanish flu wants to come out of America. We should be ready.
And this is why there's a very significant debate about these wildlife wet markets at the moment, where you're selling bats and other wildlife, where we know the bats are easily identified as being able to transfer or to spread this disease, and there are very significant questions that need to be answered, and I think the Americans are dead right to ask the questions so that the whole world can know what has happened here, and as importantly to make sure that we don't make...
I'm not saying I speak on behalf of all bats, but I don't think they meant to do this. I don't think that one wanted to get eaten. Humans, though, what do you know? We can spread it like wildfire amongst us. That's pretty unfortunate. And I've said this before in these videos, I will say it again. Not a fan of wet markets, not a fan of any animal cruelty or mistreatment or eating of endangered animals, you know, not a fan. And then obviously with that said, factory farming, live exports. I don't want to ever be the I told you so person, and that's definitely not anything you want to be able to predict. But is it really too far-fetched to see a disease coming from one of those scenarios, like factory farming or a boat full of sheep? What am I talking about? America has outbreaks of coronavirus in their meat packing plants and stuff, and they want to make people go back to work still. And we have it happening in Victoria. There are outbreaks in meat packing factories. If we're going to be concerned about food, you know, just might bring that up. And because I'm in a devil's advocate kind of mood and I got heaps of friends that are vegan. I'm not vegan, but I definitely completely support a cruelty-free lifestyle and changing of the systems to end the abuse of animals. But on behalf of my mates that have gone with the vegan lifestyle, can you really be too surprised when you're eating other creatures and you end up with a virus like this? But I would be pretty shocked if a cabbage managed to do this to the human race.
These mistakes again.
Ruby Princess, the New South Wales government have now got, I think, their third inquiry. These are my words, not yours, which is I think they're just shopping for something that will eventually blame Border Force here. Are you fine with the role Border Force played here?
I know that there are a number of journalists, The Guardian, the ABC, etc.
Guardian, ABC, what do you mean? Yeah, we've all been following this story.
Who want to take every opportunity to blame Border Force. Why? Because they hate Border Force, they hate me.
This time you are wrong, Spud. It's not because we hate you or Border Force. It's because the vast majority of Australians expected the boats that patrol our border to be involved when a ship with infected people rock up during a pandemic. And I forgive the Australian people for assuming that, because I assumed that as well. Seems to me like everyone assumed that except for Border Force. Which then leads to the primo move of dragging the Department of Agriculture into this for biosecurity. Like, that doesn't make us look like a bunch of fuckwits. They would have done the right thing if we were dealing with corn, but we were dealing with humans. So, agriculture? Like, not even health or travel. Fucking agriculture.
Because of our tough border protection policies, because of turning back boats.
Ha! Did you hear that? Border protection. Turning back boats. Oh my god, let's just play that one bit again, just because how fucking rich.
Because of our tough border protection policies, because of turning back boats.
Ha! No, dude, we don't hate you for turning back boats. We kind of hate you because you didn't this time.
Because of the fact that we've been able to stop people drowning at sea, etc. That's the genesis of their hatred of Border Force. That's not going to change.
Listen to yourself, you chud. Nobody's hating anybody because people aren't drowning at sea. Are you fucked? What? Come on.
And frankly, it's water off the duck's back, but I think Border Force have done the right thing here, and we're working very closely with New South Wales Health. Everybody is under enormous, unprecedented stress, and they need to work closely together. They're doing that. As I say, we've been able to get rid of 25 vessels so far. Michael Outram's the one that's issued the directions to those companies for those vessels to leave our waters. We closed down access to our country from people coming out of Wuhan and China and elsewhere very quickly, and probably ahead of most nations. And I think that, coupled with the fact that we demanded that these vessels leave our shores as quickly as possible, has led to the fact that we're in a pretty strong position.
Oh yeah, strong position, yes. You know, it would have put us in an even stronger position if perhaps, I don't know, maybe Border Force or someone decided to actually go through with sending the Ruby Princess to Bradley Head instead of Sydney Harbour. But that's if you wanted to do it all the same way, with the whole test the people, let them disembark, and then get the results. Where I'm sure if you actually test the people, get the results before you let them disembark, you probably could have made that work in Sydney Harbour without it being as a colossal fuck up as it is.
Or waste any time on, but it would be stupid of me not to ask publicly. Old mate's got his book out. I have no interest in promoting it, talking about it, feeding any oxygen to it. But you're no doubt going to get asked by all and sundry, what did you think of this, what did you think of that? For everyone who is half paying attention, what is the Peter Dutton position on the Ghosts book?
Look, Paul, I'm not going to add to it. I think there's a couple of courses people can take here. One is the Julia Gillard, Tony Abbott, John Howard path, and that is to be dignified in retirement as a Prime Minister. People deserve respect.
Oh, well, there you go. It doesn't matter if you give a shit about the people, don't give a shit about the people. If you follow another country into a war that they lied about, you're fine as long as you be quiet once you leave office. But if you tweet or go on shows or so much as be seen, you're a menace. Straightforward.
You can take the second path, which is the Kevin Rudd path, and look, people just laugh at Kevin Rudd when he speaks now, and it's humiliating for him and no doubt for his family as well, and I just don't understand that path. So,
Mate, really, think about that. Peter Dutton thinks that just Kevin Rudd being Kevin Rudd is somehow more embarrassing than Tony onion-eating, budgie smuggler-wearing, fucked up my tool allowance Abbott.
I hope Malcolm and Lucy could enjoy their retirement. I hope that people look at the history of this. I don't have any regrets. We changed leader. We didn't get Bill Shorten. We've got Scott Morrison.
I'm almost 100% certain that Bill Shorten as Prime Minister, he wouldn't have gone to Hawaii while we were on fire. You know how I pretty much know that? Because he didn't leave Beaconsfield till those miners came out. So I figure he wouldn't leave the whole country if we were burning.
Who I think has led us incredibly well since that time, and in particular during the course of this virus.
And this interview is from the 16th. I believe that is about the same day that Malcolm Turnbull's book was leaked before it was officially released. That's probably why the questions weren't directly about that, because it may not have quite happened yet, but oof, it was either about to or just did. Oh, we are not done yet. We're going to mention a few other things done by the potato, at least things that have happened while I've been paying attention. And quick little side note, the system I've kind of got going here is if it's behind a paywall, I will read the whole thing to you because I'm not sure if you guys will be able to access it. But if it's an article that you will be able to access, I might save some time and just put the link below. So here we go. This came out yesterday, Sunday. But a quick rundown of this. Home Affairs data breach may have exposed personal details of 700,000 migrants. The department's Skill Select platform, hosted by the Employment Department, invites skilled workers and business people to express an interest in migrating to Australia. Expressions of interest are stored for 2 years and displayed on a publicly available app advertised on the Home Affairs website, allowing them to receive invitations for skilled work visas. It's easy to access. Usernames are made up of like the actual name and some letters, and you can put filters on and pretty much get it down to an individual person, where they've stored the applicant's birth country, age, qualifications, marital status, and the outcome of the applications. And this is one of the most recent Home Affairs fuck-ups, real relevant with the data and the breaches and protection when they're telling everyone to download another app. Oh yeah. Okay, the data breaches on migrant information through the Department of Home Affairs. This article is from the 3rd of May. Now we're going to go on to an article from a different outlet from the 1st of May, which is about how he just happened to forget one of his many properties of his $5 million property portfolio. Him and his wife own a bucket load of these things, and they keep making, childcare centres. And now, if you're intentionally trying to cover shit up and do the dodgy, that's one thing, which, obviously wouldn't be surprising. But then the other thing is where I would even believe that he actually just forgot how many properties he owns and forgot to list one. When that's the case, you own too many properties, mate. And I quite like how this article even brings up the fact that somebody else mentioned Captain Cook and compared him to the coronavirus. And Dutton's like, she needs to go. She needs to leave because of a tweet, but he can just forget to list properties? Alright, okay. Next up, this family. I've done other videos about this. You can see them. I think I even read the response I got from the Prime Minister when I sent an email about this. I'll link those videos, and just to refresh everyone's memory, here's a news report from when it was happening.
Family to remain here in Australia. The parents arrived in Australia by boat in 2012 and 2013 and have subsequently had 2 children here in Australia. There were protests, as I said, across the country in order to allow them to stay, but Peter Dutton remains firm on this position, saying they're not refugees and that they should not be remaining here in this country.
They've been to every court, right up to the High Court. They've been told that they're not refugees. Now, I understand the compassion shown by many, but we have to look at this case on its merit. There's no indication at all that's been given to this family, including before they had children, that they would ever settle in this country. So over a period of time, both Minister Coleman and myself have looked at this case, and it's completely without merit in terms of their claim to be refugees.
But the family's immigration lawyer, Karina Ford, has told Sky News Mr Dutton does have precedent to take ministerial discretion in this case.
There's plenty of other cases where the minister has intervened where people haven't complied with the rules. A good example of that is the au pair cases where the minister intervened. In those cases, they were cancellation cases, so they had not complied with the rules set within the Migration Act. So with all due respect, I think, there are cases where you can intervene irrespective of the way that they've arrived in Australia.
The case is due to be heard in the Melbourne Federal Circuit Court this morning and will also be heard in the Federal Court on Wednesday. Kieran, Annalise.
And these are from 2018. They found the emails that go back and forth explaining that he's just trying to help out a mate, get some friends out of the detention centre. And so if you witness your fiancé burnt alive and you get in a boat to come to Australia, you're not a refugee. If you're still a part of a group they're finding bodies of back in Sri Lanka, you're not a refugee. Oh, and the bit that really hits me in the gut the hardest is the fact that their daughters, they're born here. They were born in Queensland. We're trying to deport children that were born in Queensland, and everyone in their town wants them back. Soulless. Because it is made so much worse by him going to get a couple of nannies out of detention. And how could we forget that Paladin bullshit with that security company with the headquarters on Kangaroo Island in a shack with no letterbox? Oh yeah, Peter Dutton, kicking goals. Oh, and this gem.
That's just mate, they do it for me. Yeah, I tell you, we had a bit of that in Port Moresby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a good meeting.
When was it Moresby? The time doesn't mean anything when you're about to be, have water lapping at your doors.
And let's wrap this up with this primo tweet that explains that his wife has been appointed director at the Mental Health Foundation of Australia. No worries. Sweet. Fucking great. The irony of wanting to help people that can't speak English. Have you forgotten who you're married to? That is fucking rich. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Fuck you, Potato Princess Ruby Dutton. And I'm out.